Assalamualaikum students, I hope you all are doing well. So, today we are going to start our new chapter, Forces and Machines. Forces and Machines. As we talk about forces and machines, they are all about motion. First of all, what is force? Force is push or pull. A force is something that we exert on an object to move it from one place to another. So, as the object moves from one place to another, it performs motion. Fine. So, the forces and machines are all about motion. And if we talk about motion, we have Sir Isaac Newton. Why do we have him? Because he was the one who gave the laws of motion. That he explained whether the object moves fast or slow if we exert a high force on it. Okay. So students, before talking about, if we talk about mass, then mass remains same in space because the matter inside it never changes. It is a very simple thing that if you go in space, for example, you are having a bag that I told you before, and if you took the same bag out of the earth, then will the books changes? No, the books will be same and their masses will will also be same. Okay, so mass never changes whether you are on earth or whether. So students, there is a picture in which you can clearly discriminate the mass and weight. Okay, so in the first picture, a girl is standing on a earth and she is saying that my weight on earth is around 560 Newton. So the weight of her on earth is 560 Newton. That means there is a gravitational force on earth which is pulling her to the earth. That's why she has a weight. Okay. And on the next picture, she is standing on a moon. Obviously there is a different gravitational force on every planet. Fine. So she is standing on a moon and she is saying that my weight on the moon is around 90 Newton, which means that her weight is different on each planet. Fine, the weight can always be different, while her mass is always 56 kg. That means her mass never changes. Okay, but her weight varies depending upon on which planet she is. Fine. So this picture shows us how the weight of the body changes on moon and on earth while the mass remains same. As we discussed earlier, in science, force is the push or pull on an object with mass that causes it to change speed. So basically, we apply force on an object to make it move faster or make it move slower, or we can stop an object by applying force on it. So force is the motion of an object depends upon the force applying on it. In this chapter, we are going to discuss four types of forces, which are buoyancy, gravity, friction, and air resistance. Okay. So first of all, we will discuss the force buoyancy. Buoyancy is a force that works only in liquids. It is an upward force exerted by a fluid that opposes the weight of a partially or fully immersed object. Class, as I have told you earlier that in a liquid the molecules are not as closely packed together as they are in solids, or not as loosely packed or loosely arranged as they are in gases, but they have their molecules connected to each other. So if we immerse an object in a liquid, the molecules in that liquid will try to oppose the weight of a partially or fully immersed object. For example, we have the diagram. In this diagram, we have two objects. The first object in green is floating and the other in yellow is sinking. Why? Let me explain you the concept of it. The object in yellow has a heavier weight That's why the molecules of water cannot oppose it properly. So that's why the object uh, gets down in water. And on the other hand, we have the green one. The weight of the green one is not as that much of the yellow object. So that's why the water molecules can easily oppose that object, and it floats on the surface of a liquid. So students, second force we have is the force of gravity. Gravity is the force that pulls everything towards the center of the earth. So as you know that you all stand on earth, why don't you float on earth? Have you ever thought that why everything is on the floor? Why is it not floating? Because there is a force of gravity which holds everything to the earth. Right? As we talk about Isaac Newton, how does he discovered the gravity? He was sitting under a tree and suddenly an apple falls on his head. What he thought, that why didn't the apple goes upward, or on the left side or on the right side? Why it only fall on the ground? So then he discovered that it was a force of gravity that attracts everything on the earth towards its center. Fine? And it is a force that keeps us on earth. If there was no gravity, we all would have been floating on the earth. Everything will be unusual, and there will be no one standing on the earth. So as we take it, there is no gravity in space. So what we see in space, as you can see on the picture, the people are floating. As there is no gravity in space, they cannot stand and they cannot walk properly. So gravity is a very important force that keeps us on earth and that helps us stand on earth. So students, next force we have is the force of friction. What is friction basically? Friction is the action of one surface or object rubbing against each other. For example, take your hands and try to rub your hands against each other. You will not be able to rub them as smoothly. Why? Because there are some pores in your hand that will oppose the flow of your hand against each other. So it will be difficult for you to rub your hands smoothly. And for example, let's take another example. It slows or stops objects that are sliding past each other. Fine. And now we have a picture. As you can see, a person is dragging a cupboard on a floor, and there is a force of friction that opposes the dragging. Fine. So why is that so? The first reason of it is the cupboard is very heavy, that's why he cannot push it. And the second reason is maybe the surface on which he is dragging may be very rough. If we have a rough surface, it will be difficult for us to push an object. It is the force of friction that stops the flow of sliding objects. Just think about it. You are in your room and you have carpet in your room, and you are trying to drag a cupboard. It will be very difficult for you because the surface of a carpet is very rough. And then take the example that there are tiles on your floors and marble floors. You will not face as much difficulty as you were facing on the carpet. So the more the rough surface is, the more it will be difficult for you to slide an object. The more will be the resistance. Okay, the more will be the friction. Or more the smooth the surface is, the friction will be that less. Okay. The last we have is air resistance. What is air resistance? Air resistance is also a kind of friction. As we have discussed earlier, what is friction? Friction is the force which stops or slows down the objects which are passing against or sliding against each other. So air resistance also slows down the object through the air, and suddenly the air starts flowing very fastly, and then you feel a difficulty walking on the street. So why is that so? The air resists you, the air stops you, the air molecules pushes you that hard that you face a difficulty in walking. So air resistance is basically a force that slows down the object. Okay, in the diagram, the below diagram, we can see a parachute and a man. How does the man stays on air, in air? As we can see, the arrow shows the air resistance, due to which the parachute lands slowly, and it does not land as fast as the weight of the man. If there was no parachute, the man would have been fallen on the ground and it would have hurt himself. But there is a parachute, and there is air molecules that pushes the balloon, that pushes the parachute upward and makes the man go slower on the ground. So air resistance slows the object or make it move more faster.